Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Man Cave. I don't have the time or the crayons to explain this to you. That's one of my favorite shirts, too. Got a few little things to talk to you about. The windows came in for the, well, I shouldn't say they came in. Sue went and got them this morning and got the new windows for the doors, for the two doors. And these, we were going to get them with the black internal grid, like the white internal grid, except black. Well, they were going to be a lot more expensive, and they were going to take a lot longer to get. They're going to be a couple of weeks. So she decided to just go ahead and buy windows with the grid on the outside. Even though they're white, we'll just have to paint them. And so she picked those up today, and at least we can paint these. The other ones had the grid internal inside the glass, and you can't paint those. So anyway, so we did get that, and I did start, painting the first gridded window not for the door, but for just the regular windows. Oh man, that is a pain in the neck. I'll have a little short video on that, and I'll show you that in a minute. First of all, let's see. I will show you this. I mentioned this Cabot stain, so I got a picture here. I just thought it would be good to show it to you, and if you're interested in it, this is what it is. It says Australian timber oil. It's really good stuff. I don't know if anybody else is familiar with it or not, but I'm impressed with the stuff, man. I really do like it. I will definitely be using that in the future. We did coat all the decks of all the trailers with that stuff, and Sue liked it too when she was doing that. Here's the little short video on the painting of the first window to show you how that's going. Well, I finished touching up the black paint on the trim of the water wheelhouse, and then I brought one of these windows down here, and I had 3 birthdays while I was taping this off. It takes forever to tape that off. And that's just the first side of the first window. There's 2 sides to every window, and there's a bunch of windows. With the 2 windows in the doors, and then you got 4 on the pond side, so that's 6. 1 on each end upstairs, that's 7, 8, and 1 on the front, 9. So there's 9 windows that have to have this done to them. And there's what she looks like painted black. Of course, we have to peel all the tape and paper out of there yet, but I'm gonna have to let it set till it really dries up good. I think it's gonna look nice when we get them put in place, but keep in mind, I still have to do the other side of just this first window. It's a pain in the patootie, man. Well, I guess I might as well give you the obligatory status of the water wheelhouse, considering that I did touch up all the trim today, and that was a lot of work. Believe it or not, there was a lot. I had to get the ladder on 3 sides and get up there and touch all the trim up and finish it all. So all the boards under the windows are done now. For the record, that one looks like it's got paint underneath there, but that's actually stain. I think it's water stain is what I think it is. But anyway, it's looking good. Of course, it will look a whole lot better once these windows are all painted to match. I thought it was interesting. You can see the beads of water on this. After I painted that with that Cabot stain, the water just beads up on it. You can see it there. That's really good, I think. That's why I think it'd be great to put that on that roof. It would have been good probably to coat the whole inside of this channel with that too. But that channel seems to be holding up just fine. If that channel ever wears out, that's for sure what I'll do the next time. You can see the water beaded up on top of the boards there where it rained. We did get a shower last night. It was only a shower. You can see the dirt's still dirt and dry. It wasn't enough to really do much. But you can see that's all been touched up now, and the black paint is looking good now. All the way around, the trim is completely finished. So all we're waiting on now is all these window panes. As soon as we get all those painted black, I think I'm completely done. I think I am. Sure can't think of anything else. And I am glad of that. Yes, very, very glad of that. And for those of you who might be curious, the windows that we're taking out of those two doors on the water wheelhouse, they're not going to waste. They are actually going to be repurposed and put into the door in the shop. When I put the shop door in, I don't know, quite a few years ago, I'm going to say a dozen years ago, whenever it was, I think the very next day, Sue was weed eating and threw a rock right into the window and broke it. So, broke one side of it, So, anyway, so one of those windows, I already did put it in the shop window this morning. And there's another one that will be repurposed and go in the back door window of the Airbnb. Because the same thing happened to that. A weed eater threw a rock and busted that window too. So, yeah. It would be easy to complain about that, except for the fact that I wasn't doing the weed eatings, and it's hard to complain. She's doing the weed eating, so it's not really easy to complain about that. I'll just accept an occasional broken window, and we'll just leave it at that. But anyway, they are being repurposed and going to good spots, and it's going to work out just fine. So we needed those anyway, if you will. But now we can paint them black and make them match the water wheelhouse. So it kind of killed two birds with one stone, I guess you could say. And the other part of that is that I did actually take a video of me changing that window out in the shop today, but that window went bye-bye. It died or something. It just didn't work. I don't know what happened to it. When I transferred the video over, it was only about a minute, not even a minute. It was like 3 seconds long, So, I don't know. Something happened. So let's go to the comments and see what's going on. Gino Hitch says, beautiful day here in Monroe, Ohio. There's Joe Nigan again, and Gino Hitch says, sorry I hit the wrong button. I really enjoyed the story about Sonny. He sure was an amazing dog. Yeah, he really was an amazing dog. And the fact that we really didn't train him, and he just knew to do that stuff, just like the stallion that got out in the barn. Nobody trained him to run that stallion back in a stall and sit there and wait till help arrived. You know what I mean? He just did stuff like that. It's just hard to fathom, really. You see that on Lassie. Lassie would have done that, but it's all Hollywood gimmick, He did it in real life. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. Anyway, Ronald Todd's got some question marks there. Says, good afternoon, Jerry, from the West Bank of New Jersey. Yep. Bill Webb's there. Let's see. Ronald Todd says, prayers for Dottie. Yeah, she's having that knee surgery this morning, or she had it, I guess, this morning. Hoping all that went really, really well. I think it probably did. She'll probably be much better off here very shortly. Bill Webb says, love the stories, Jerry. It's interesting to hear them over and over. You can tell that you are telling the truth because the stories don't change. Yeah, they're just black and white, 100% black and white stories, just like when Dad told that dog to crawl up and sit down on that post, I'm thinking, that's kind of stupid, Dad. That was my first thought was, That's going a little too far there. That dog can't do that, By God, he did. He crawled he was right in that corner, he just crawled right up there, and it took him quite a while before he got wiggled around and got sat down on that post, but he did it. I was more amazed, I think, than the people that, were there asking him to do something he'd never done before, Crazy, just crazy. Bruce Hines, good afternoon, Jerry and friends. Hope all are doing well. Check in. Dottie, hope you doing well. Yeah. See, Don Matthews, proof you are correct about the penetrating oil. Another channel was repairing a horn. He used penetrating oil for months. Then he finally forced it apart. The oil was in the joint, and it was no help at all. Yeah, you can believe what you want. I mean, I'm not saying it never works. If you've got a loose, rusty kind of joint, it would definitely help on something like that. But if you've got something that's forced together tight and it's rusted to boot, and when I mean forced together tight, I mean a real snug fit, and it's then rust jacked all the way around it, that they can't. There's no magic there. You can pour water there and it ain't going to penetrate. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing going to penetrate that. It's a sealed joint, and nothing's going to penetrate a sealed joint. Believe what you want. The best penetrating oil you can hope for. I mean, like I said, if it's a loose, rusty joint, it would probably do something. But on a tight one, it's just not. But the best you can hope for is that by the fact that you squirt that in there, when it finally does start coming loose, it does help lubricate the, sliding it apart the rest of the way. But in every case I've ever used it, except maybe one, maybe one time it's worked. I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt there. I've always just had to apply more force eventually to get it done. I'll tell you another good example of that. We were using all kinds of penetrating oils on that Ford 4000 stuck motor that, everybody says pour in, acetone and transmission fluid. It's a great penetrating oil, and so we did that. And it was 2-3 weeks that I let it sit there with that, and I would go out there and try it every day and see if I could get it to spin. No, nothing helped. Finally, I got a hold of the tractor expert guy. This guy had and I'm not making this up, he had 400 tractors. He was a collector. Collector. I forget, he wasn't too far from me here. He's only an hour or so drive away. And he as a favor to me, he came over here to help me with this because, if anybody knows how to get a tractor unstuck, it's going to be this guy. And so, he brings this pry bar that was about 3 foot long. He gets in there on the flywheel. Now, I was prying pretty dang hard, but my pry bar was about 18 inches long, and I'm prying as hard as I can pry, and it ain't moving. He goes, "Oh, we'll get it." And he puts that bar in there, and he put some force on that sucker, and it finally broke loose. That penetrating oil didn't do nothing. It was just the fact that you put extra force on it, it finally breaks loose. You got to put enough force on it, and it'll finally come apart. And he definitely knew what he was doing. I didn't, But, can you imagine having 400 tractors? And I say 400, I don't know the exact number, but it was in that range. He had a bunch of tractors. Let's see. David Tharp, howdy all. Politicians should wear sponsor jackets like NASCAR drivers so we know who owns them. Yeah, there's some truth to that. Don Nice, hi Jerry and friends. Think Dottie is in God's hands, no need to worry. Yep. I'm sure she's going to come out just fine. Let's see. After we went live, Michael 2X says, hey, Rosa Meister, howdy back to you. Bruce Ducker says, greeting from Florida. There's David Tharp with some question marks. Says, cars today have too many gadgets. On a test drive, I put it in reverse, and it played a video of one of the salesmen disappearing under the car's rear bumper. Now, I read that one the other day, David. I don't know, maybe you didn't hear me or something, or maybe that was after when we got cut off. I don't know. But that is funny. That is funny. Let's see. Bill Mumbo, Pane in the glass. Boy, that is the truth. Man, does anybody have a trick for how to do that faster? Man, I can't think of any. It takes a while to tape each one of those suckers off. I'm actually tempted to just not tape it off and then scrape it with a razor blade. I don't know if that'd be quicker or not. I almost think it'd be quicker because I'm pretty good at scraping stuff. I've done that forever. So I don't know. I think maybe on the other side of it, I might try that just to see if I can actually do it faster by just scraping the paint off, especially if you don't let it get completely dry. I think it'll do it. I don't know. That's just my thought. Anybody else got a better one? Let me know in the comments. David Tharp, hey Jerry, here's another t-shirt idea. Silence is golden, duct tape is silver. Yeah. Tom Armstrong, there's a YouTube channel called The Maine Woods. He got Harvey windows and doors for his cabin build, and apparently not good quality at all. They just don't build things like they used to. Boy, that is the truth. They don't make things like they used to. That is for sure. And that comment, I think, just went away. I don't know where it went. I just finished reading it. It's gone now. Preston Johnson, hey Jerry, the black windows look like Ozzy's eyes. He. Love Water Wheelhouse. Beautiful job. Thank you. Hugh O'Connor, can you send some of your temperatures over to the UK? Boy, I would love to send you some of these hot temperatures. It's hot again today. I didn't check it right now, but let me look. Not quite as bad, 86.2, but out in that sun, it feels hotter than that. Let's see. David Tharp, the best thing you can say about penetrating oil is that it works better than CA glue. Yeah, it probably does. Something real thin like alcohol would probably work just about as well as penetrating oil, honestly. Something that's really thin that does actually, seep into cracks and things. But I don't know. I'm just saying that's my experience. I don't find it works at all, to be truthful. I just don't find that it works at all. Hugh O'Connor, can you send? No, I read that one. Okay, well, it's in there twice. Currently, it's rarely above 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, 68 degrees is perfect, man. I'd love if I could keep 68 all year round. I'd love that. That's just the right temperature for me. Ronald Todd, I never worry about God's hands. However, I do worry about doctor's hands. Boy, isn't that the truth? Especially related to the VA hospital. As a veteran, I've been there and done that. Yeah. Well, like I said the other day in one of these vlogs, you know what they call a doctor who graduated at the very bottom of his class? In other words, he got the worst scores in the class. You know what they call him, don't you? Doctor. Yeah, I mean, that's the truth. And you don't know if your doctor is at the top of the class or at the bottom of the class. David Sutter, no luck with Croyle. It's well used in the gun world. Yeah, I've used Croyle too. I don't find a bit of difference in them. That's just me. Now, I'm a skeptic. I got to be honest. If something works, you've heard it here. If something works, I tell you it works. If it don't work, I tell you it don't work. And it just flat don't work, in my opinion. I know people swear by Croyle. They just think it's the best thing ever. But I've used it and I don't see any difference. I could use WD-40 and be just as happy. It doesn't do anything for me. That's just me. Like I said, I'm a skeptic. You gotta, if something works though, I'm the first guy to jump on it and tell you. Just like that stain there, that Cabot stain, man, that's good stuff. You need to get some of that. If you got any wood that's exposed outdoors, put that on it and you'll see what I'm talking about. Michael 2X, do you prefer antler over bone for guitar saddles? Well, this is controversial. I will just say it that way. I don't think I can tell the truth. If it was a blind test, I don't think I could tell the difference. I really don't. I think if you played, assuming they're both good quality pieces of bone, because there is inferior quality. You can get stuff that's real porous or whatever. But assuming you got two good pieces of bone and antler in a blind test, I'm pretty sure I can't hear the difference. I think the reason I like antler the most is there's two main reasons. Number one, antlers maybe a hair harder, than regular bone, just because they fight with it. It has to be a very strong bone. Number two, you don't have to do anything to it. It's soon as it falls off their head, it's ready to use. Where like a bone that you take out of an animal, you have to more or less cook that, or at least let it dry for a very long time, because it's more or less rancid. It's a green bone. So that's the difference. For me, the antler's it's just a no-brainer. I really like using the antler the best because of that. And you can't hardly find a piece of regular bone big enough to make a deer antler saddle for a mandolin. I've never seen a piece big enough. I went to the butcher and picked through a whole bunch of his bones. He said, yeah, you take anything there you want. I couldn't find a piece big enough to make a antler saddle for a mandolin. So there you go. That's why I use antler. I said can't make an antler saddle out of the bone. Well, you know what I meant. Anyway, all right, moving on. Let's see. Ronald Todd says, maybe cut pane templates, lay them on the glass, and scrape with razor when you're done. That's not a bad idea. Seriously, that's a pretty good idea. If I had something I could cut that would just fit that real good. That's a good idea. I didn't think of that one. That's a good idea. Michael 2X, do you prefer antler over bone? Okay, I read that one. Bill Mumbo, if the, it keeps scrolling up and down on me. If the panels are the same size, make cardboard panels to sit in the glass spray frame, then move to the next window. Yep, that's more or less what I think the other guy's saying there, so thank you. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of that. It's a good idea, though. Paul Akers, the roof really makes the building. You could do a half of board on the eave. I see it on high-dollar buildings. I don't know if I know what you mean. The roof really makes the building, really makes that building. You could do a half of board on the eave. I see it on high-dollar buildings. I'm not sure what that means. Well, thank you, because I do think the roof does definitely make that building. But I do think when it cools off a bit, I'm not going to do it right now, but when it cools off a bit, I've got a 32-foot long ladder or something, and I've got a big ladder, and I'm going to just put it a slightly more angle than you should put it at, and I think I can get up there and then have Sue stand on the bottom of the ladder or something like that. I'm not going to make it really leaning, but I mean, I'll when you stand at the base of a ladder, if you extend your arms out, it's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be right there. I'm going to tilt it just a little bit more than that, not much. And then I'll climb up there, and I think that'll get me down enough where I can paint that. and just have somebody stand on the bottom of the ladder. You know, I know it's not safe, but it's the way I'm going to do it. Because there's nothing else I can do except build another scaffold, and I'm not doing that. That was a pain. Let's see. Michael Love, overlap tape, then trim with a razor blade. Well, that's an idea. In other words, don't get too picky about it. You know, that's an idea too. That's a good idea, maybe. Let's see here. I might try that. I don't know. Don Nice, how about vinegar for rust? Yeah, it works. I mean, I still think it's going to be very slow. I'll tell you what might really work is that sulfuric acid, that stuff that I've used for the plumbing. Oh my gosh, that stuff's powerful now. I'm seriously telling you, that stuff's powerful. Leo Baloo. Hi everyone. It's been a while, my friend, but I have turned 93 on the 4th of July, 2025. I have been quite busy. Nice to be back. Well, glad you're back there, Leo. And happy birthday, belated. 93. Very cool. Bill Mumbo. Ronald Todd. Yeah, he says, great minds think alike. See, Wayne Blitz, good afternoon, Jerry. It's a very nice day in Ohio. All is well, everyone, and keep it safe. Well, guys, I think that's going to be it. 133 viewers. Thank you for being here. If you would, click a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that very much. I will go down there this afternoon and maybe see if I can't figure out a way to lay a template on there for... I don't know. I don't have any material that I can think of that I could make a template out of, honestly. If you had some regular thin cardboard, you know, just kind of like the board on the back of a tablet, you know, like this kind of cardboard, that would be perfect for it. Or if I had some tin or something, but I can't think of anything I've got that would work. I think right now the... not being so picky with the tape idea and just cutting it with a knife, which is what I'm doing anyway. I'm still cutting it with a knife, but I was being awful picky, you know. But maybe I don't need to be so picky. I don't know. I'll figure out something. I'll tell you whatever I figure out. I'll tell you about it tomorrow. Thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow.